Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another show of Inspirate Business, the show that's here to inspire you, to empower you, and to enlighten you. And we're already around about the 28th show. Can you believe it? What once started as a concept where we aimed to share with you those that are doing amazing work in their own fields of domain, whatever that may be, those that are playing beyond the norm. And we try to bring these type of individuals so for them to share their experiences from their challenges, from their good work that they're doing, and the learnings, most importantly, so that when we sit and watch, we can learn maybe something, some pearl of wisdom that we can implement in our lives, and hopefully then also start operating in that field of greatness. Now, today, I have none other than a good friend of mine as well, I might add, Samir, Salie. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Inspirate Business Show.
Walaikum salam, Yusuf. Yes, indeed, we are friends. I know you for more than 15 years.
Yes.
And I think our common meeting place is the gym.
Is the gym.
And then the mosque.
Of course. Two beautiful places, the mosque and the gym.
Yeah.
And Samir, I've been watching him over this last 15 years. As he says, we meet in the gym. And sometimes at an ungodly hour, after Fajr, or sometimes even before Fajr, depending on summer or winter. Yeah. Samir is a fitness coach, sports management coach.
Sports
performance coach, as well as a biokineticist.
Correct, yeah.
Now, how did it all start? We're going to talk a lot about this field. I must say something, and this is, and I want to also put this as an important aspect, that this being a business show, that when I find this here, it's pretty amazing. When you come to the gym at that hour, that 4:30, sometimes some gyms open, or 5 o'clock, that immediate after Fajr, you find the fanciest cars at that time. These are like C-suite individuals. These are captains of industry that are gymming at that time. And I'd like you to also take us into that world, of the mind of these type of people. You work with so many diverse people, and these minds of champions, business champions that you're training as well. So we'll talk a lot about that and also your journey. So maybe we'd start off with where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Cape Town, in a suburb called Retreat. Okay. My parents are still there.
Okay.
A place I still call home. I've been in sport. I've grown up in sport. My mother was an athlete. My father was a sportsman. All his cousins were sportsmen. So as far as I can remember back, I've been on the side of a field somewhere, where I was sitting on the embankment, sliding down on cardboard boxes. I was there. So I think the choice was easy. People ask, what was your favorite subject at school? I said it was PE. Yeah. I wish there was marks for PE. It would have been great. So sport just came naturally, from watching my dad play into me playing various sports, having 2 more brothers, which meant Saturdays were at the sports field from 6 a.m. till lunchtime. And that continues now with me having 2 boys. I mean, you've been trying to get hold of me.
Yes.
And that's where I've been.
Yes. Saturday morning is the day what cricket and so on.
It's cricket, it's rugby, it's soccer, whatever goes on. So my love has been there. I then looked at what can I study. It was either going to be physiotherapy, and biokinetics was a new thing at that stage. I loved doing it. My degree was PE, it was PE, but going into depth. From there, I studied at UWC.
So is that where you did your biokinetics?
So I did an undergrad in sport and exercise science, and then I did my honors in biokinetics there. And from there, I was placed up in Johannesburg to do my internship. As a Cape Townian, I don't think your goal is ever to leave the beaches. Yeah. But I got placed up here, and opportunities arose. And I then stayed here. And
so just tell us a little bit about biokinetics, for somebody that maybe wants to get into that field.
So the basic definition of a biokineticist is a exercise specialist. We train to work with people who've got heart disease, diabetes, people that are paralyzed, any type of injury. We are second phase rehabilitation.
Okay.
Yeah,
So anybody that's going through some challenge, maybe from a health perspective, that have got some injury and wants to get back into a training regiment, the ideal place would be to come to a biokineticist.
it would be the safest place.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
So you get sports fitness coaches, like gym instructors,
sure.
but not every gym instructor is a biokineticist.
Correct. So fitness instructors, most of them kind of do a 1-year course, whereas a biokineticist done a 3-year undergrad degree and then a 1-year postgrad degree and 1 year of internship. So when I say safest, you are in professional good hands when you come to a
So you're the
biokineticist.
specialist
We are the
in
specialists.
the exercise world, in the
Correct.
training world.
Yes.
And that would not necessarily only mean your typical, because a lot of people get intimidated by just going to the gym.
Yeah.
So, I'm talking of weight training, but it means a lot of other type of modalities, correct?
Correct, yes. So if you look at the traditional biokineticist, they would be working, there's a wellness spectrum, a wellness continuum,
Right.
where you've got sick, so in injury, sickness, whatever, and that's kind of the rehabilitation side of it. I focused on this side of it, which was the sports performance. That's why I labeled myself as a sports performance coach. I wanted to work on getting people better at what they were doing within their exercise and within their sport.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll talk a lot more about what you offer
Yeah.
and what you actually do on a daily basis. But coming back to those days in retreat,
Yeah.
with dad and mom being, sports crazy people, they were also sports athletes themselves.
Yeah.
So that reared you. You then go and do your degree
Correct.
at UWC,
At UWC.
right? And then you say you had to leave the fair escape.
Yes.
And then for your sons and to come to Joburg. But you now typically a Joburg boy, because I know you 15 years in Joburg.
You only
Yeah.
know me as a Joburg boy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, besides for the Cape Town twang, I mean, other than that, you'd be Joburg, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So you come to Joburg, and then what do you do? You do an internship.
So I do an internship, which all biokineticists have to do. From there, what really kept me here is I met a girl.
Okay.
I met a girl, so I thought, let me stay a bit longer and see what this relationship can be. But in having stayed, I then saw these great opportunities in Joburg. Joburg is definitely where the buzz is. It's where things are happening a bit faster. In my field, which is you can see it as a luxury spend, right? Everybody needs to exercise, and exercise is good for you. But to spend on exercise is a luxury. And Joburg definitely was that hub where, especially at Mulder's, where I met you, was where people were willing to spend a lot more on their health and exercise.
So was that your first position in Joburg at Melrose Arch?
That was after my internship, that was my first position.
Okay, and that was, I think, at that time, that was probably, how many years ago now?
About 2007.
2007. I think the gym opened in about 2001 or something.
2003, I think.
3, yeah. All right. So you were one of the first.
We were the founders of that gym.
And that was one of at the time, Virgin Active had created this premier offering, and I think Melrose Arch was one of the first of that. I mean, now they have a few around. Including at Moses Mabhida, and I think at the waterfront,
at the silos,
at the silo district, So and how has that journey been for you?
So the Melrose Arch was the first classic.
Right.
It was an absolute eye opener. Having done traditional work in the sporting environment, I think you kind of know what changing rooms look like, what old gyms look like. The smell of it, which is actually nostalgic, when you smell that concrete and you smell the deep heat, that gym was phenomenal. I mean, you come in there, they were polishing your shoes, they were ironing your shirts, they were giving you a towel.
Giving you a hot towel.
They were giving you a hot towel. It blew my mind, and therefore I said for me, it was the place to ply my trade.
And importantly, and I mean, we've come close to the end of this segment already. And this is what I want to get to. I think I brought that as the preamble, is that the type of clientele that you're dealing with, these are some of the most successful business people, entrepreneurs, professionals in Africa.
Correct.
And that must have been an experience for you.
It was an experience, and I'll give you an example of what I saw with one of my clients.
Mm.
So the gym opened up at 4:30. His session with me was at 5 a.m. I would get there just before 5 a.m. He'd be on the treadmill, walking to warm up, reading a book.
Mm.
So, when you say, why are some of these people successful? You look at that kind of example, and you understand it. That was definitely an eye-opener for me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So look, we've come to the end of this first segment already, exploring into this world of fitness, this world of training, and how important it is. It's our bodies are an amana, a gift from Allah, and it's incumbent upon us to be able to use this body for goodness in every facet. And I want to explore that in this next segment, delving a little bit deeper into the science of this body of ours, this amazing system that Allah has given us. I mean, when you think about it, the way it functions, and with all the challenges that we've gone through also with COVID and the aftermath of it, let's explore that a little further after the break. Welcome back to Inspirate Business, and on our red hot couch, sponsored by Aza Collective in Kramerville, we have none other than Samir Salie, who is a sports performance coach. He corrected me there, yes, and a biokineticist by profession. He was explaining to us what that is, and I would see it as a specialist in the training regiment, somebody that really has what we always term in the show, the 10,000 hours. The person that plays, that is seen as the go-to person. So you were saying that if somebody is going through a challenge, depending on which spectrum they are, maybe they're ill, they've had an injury, or even somebody that has come out of COVID now. I mean, there's a lot of people that are still suffering from this long COVID. They call it. Guys have breathing issues and whatever. Want to get back into getting their immune systems up. You're the right person
Correct.
to get to. Now, you were also saying, and I want to talk a little bit about that. You were talking about, you having at 5 o'clock in the morning this type of people that come there that are, CEOs or CFOs, the C-suite type individuals, really strong entrepreneurs, and they've got discipline, right? I mean, to train somebody, you have to have that discipline. So let's just get a little bit into the mind of your typical type of person that you train.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you talk about the highly successful people,
yes.
which they probably make it look easy, but it takes that consistency of their discipline to be there. But I think for the average person, it's a struggle. I think, we've been on a journey together where we see each other through the years. It's tough. It's not always easy being consistent in anything you do, and let alone gym, which feels like hard work. So I found on my journey and on the journey of people I've trained, if you can get the consistency right, it kind of keeps the headspace right. Even though everything in you kind of says, don't go, stay in bed.
Yes.
Don't go do the hard work. Definitely coming out of that, you feel a lot better. And if we look at the psychology behind it, or the physics of that, is there are endorphins that are released in your body when you exercise that definitely make you happy.
Yeah, these are what they call those happy hormones,
Correct,
right? Yeah.
Correct, yes.
So the endorphins, dopamine, that type of.
Yes.
Yeah. But I find that it's amazing. You get out of the gym for a little bit. I mean, for the last 2-3 weeks haven't been training. And I can sense now my body is starting to feel like a bit cranky. Got a little bit more aches and pains at night and whatever. Actually, given my age also, where I think this happens now, right? And then when you're in the training regiment, you tend to be more pliable, more flexible. You have more energy. It helps you in your day as well, because now you're more productive.
Yes.
And then just again, would it be? Is there a formula that it's better to train in the morning than at evening, or not?
So no, there's no better formula.
Yeah.
We all have different biorhythms of our
Ah,
bodies,
right.
of when you have more energy, but it comes down to when you can fit it into your day.
Mm.
Those very successful people that you talk about book out the exercise as if it's a meeting.
Mm.
So everything has to work around that, because getting into the system when you kind of go, when I'm done, I'll get there. It often doesn't happen. Your other option is, as a parent, which I've seen with mothers do, which is quite, I think it's high discipline. You know the morning routine with your kids. You're up at 5:30. You're getting your kids ready. There are ladies that come before that happens, where they actually come in and they at there at 5. They do their 45 minutes and they go back home and they go make their breakfast for their kids. And they get them ready for school.
Okay, so this is a very good point as well. I mean, the traditional view has been that, you know, you guys will get into the gym and then spend like an hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym. And I'm seeing a lot more the trend moving toward like these shorter bursts of training, which they say is as good as having to have trained for an hour and a half, 2 hours. So is this just a new age trend, or is it, or is there some science behind it?
So the science behind improving your cardiovascular system, and I'm going back to my first year at varsity, was 15 minutes of cardiovascular exercise where you elevate your heart rate would improve your cardiovascular system.
So that would be like on the treadmill or on the bicycle?
Even just walking outside.
All right.
At a brisk pace would get you there. But now we look at aesthetics, right? So you want to go, but I want to burn calories because I want to lose weight. Then your 15 minutes is not enough. So what people have looked at is this 30 minutes high intensity training. So it's a short burst, but you're burning as many calories as you can in a shorter time. So I would recommend for someone who doesn't have lots of time, 30 minutes is good enough, 3 to 5 times a week.
Okay, and that would be this what you call high intensity training. And
Correct.
what would that typically entail?
So when we talk about high intensity, it's mainly about what happens to your heart rate.
Okay.
Right. So getting your heart rate up into a 60 to 80% of your maximum heart rate is where you want to push it.
All right.
Yeah. And that could be any type of exercise. It could be running on the spot. It could be cycling. It could be a mixture of body weight exercises, weight exercises, and some form of cardiovascular exercise.
Okay, so this is the other one that the other question asks. Is it like, I mean, traditionally there's the cardiovascular side, which is where you running, cycling, whatever you do, elliptical, those type of things, right? Or just doing even a session, a group session. And then you have the weight training, right? So now you get some that prefer the cardiovascular things. They go on a cycle in the morning or they do running. And you get some that are like the gym bunnies, right?
Yeah.
Guys that are picking up heavy weight, and then it's intimidating for others. So is there like one compared to the other that's better, or should it be a hybrid of the two? What's the ideal formula?
So ideally, it would be a hybrid.
Right.
But cardiovascular, when we talk about cardiovascular, we're talking about just working the heart.
Right.
Right. So you look at heart disease, that's something that will then stop heart disease. It will be able to give you stamina. But the body is not only made of the heart, right? We've got all the muscles that also need to be strengthened. So we look at problems when we get older. We can't get out of a chair.
Yes.
Those muscles are too weak, and that's a basic functional movement. And I think probably Salie is a great example of keeping the body moving.
Yes.
But do you want to be sitting in a chair when you're 40 years old and there's no real injury that has happened to you? You don't, right? So the strength work is very important.
Which is your
weights. And for ladies too. So you get arthritis, you get osteoporosis. Things like doing weights or resistance training can prevent or delay the onset of something like that happening.
And so this is again another very good point, because there's a belief that ladies, traditionally, wouldn't be doing picking up weights, because that's now more for like bodybuilding stuff, and you don't want to be doing that. That's also a misnomer, right?
That's a misnomer, and I look at the next generation of people coming through. that's been pushed aside. You go into what they used to call the testosterone pit in a gym, and you only saw the big guys and the
Yes, yes,
ladies
yes.
stayed as far away as possible. That's no longer it. When we talk about functional training, functional is being able to let the body do what it's supposed to do. You still got to pick up a child. If you don't do strength training, there's going to be a point where you can't even pick up your child. You can't carry your bags.
That is a very, very good point. So it's again, I mean, this body is, we spoke about it earlier, about this being a gift from Allah. And you need to nurture it. You need to look after it so that it helps you for longevity. Right? This idea of, and you see some people, I mean, you've seen some 80-year-olds that look 60 and function as a 60-year-old. And it then tells you that our bodies are meant to be functional up to an old age.
Yeah, and then you see 40-year-olds.
Yes, that's the reverse.
That's reverse, and it's because they haven't looked after their bodies.
That's very interesting. I want to also talk, just before we go to the break, we already come again. This was very interesting. When it comes to now training, like weight training, again, is the view that you really have to pick up heavy weights to transform? Because there's also this view that you're doing repetition, but lighter weights. So how does that work?
So the science of it is the rep range has to be between 6 and 12 reps, right? And the weight has to be heavy enough so that 6 to 12 reps are only possible. So just choosing the reps as 6 to 12, but picking up a pillow and going, I did my 6 and putting it down is not going to do. It's an overload principle. Like in everything in life, right? You push a bit harder, the body then adapts to be able to handle that load. The overload should be small, because if you overload too much, you're going to break the body. So yes, with regards to weights, yes, it needs to be heavy enough to fit within that rep range.
That's what you say. Growth happens when you get to that uncomfortable zone.
Correct.
In every aspect, you have to challenge yourself. So I guess when you come to those last reps is where you're in that uncomfortable zone, and that's where your true growth takes place. That's where you see transformation taking place.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to also talk a little bit about this world that we live in, which is around this instant gratification, and I think that's become a trend, which is a very dangerous trend as well, especially in the gym world. Let's talk about that, plus what Samir offers in terms of helping someone immediately after the break. Welcome back to Inspirate Business, the show that's here to inspire you, to empower you, and to enlighten you. And this is a business show, as we know, and we bring people that are impacting in their spheres of influence. And we have been intrigued over the last half an hour by none other than Samir Salie, who is a biokineticist by profession, and sharing with us the science of health and vitality and what he calls these happy hormones that we need to get pumping in our bodies. I know I can attest to that. As challenging as it is to get to the gym, like all good things in this world, once you get to do it, that reward is so beautiful. You spoke of Salah as well. When you think about it, we need to make Salah 5 times a day. It can be very challenging. Our procrastinator in us stops us from doing it. But just think, after you do it, once you've done your wudu, you've gone into that submission to your Creator, that emotional feeling, well-being, that elevation that you get in itself has a dopamine rush as well.
Correct.
And gym is very much like that. Whatever exercise you do, and I mean, I think what we also need to put a disclaimer here is we're not propagating that you only need to go to the gym, right? It's any form of training. You spoke about walking. Just that in itself can be a great dopamine rush. But we spoke a little bit about the science and, a little bit of cardiovascular that you need to do, as well as the hybrid would be the ideal space. Also, the misnomers or the limiting beliefs that people have that women can't be doing weight training. But let's understand, if I'm a person that hasn't trained, maybe a bit overweight, I maybe have had some sort of issues when it came to COVID, and I'm struggling a little bit. and I want to get into it. Like, I typically come to a person like you, the subject area expert. What would be, how would you go about helping a person like that?
So what I would advise,
Mm.
depending on how badly you are ill or injured, is first go get clearance from a doctor.
Mm.
Like I said, we are second phase. Going to anybody that doesn't send you to do something that is a dangerous space when you know you've got, like even like with long COVID,
Mm.
there's complications that have happened with long COVID that we are unaware of. So your lungs need to be tested, your heart needs to be tested before you get into a program.
Mm. Mm.
Then I would advise going to a professional,
Mm.
someone who has actually studied, who understands the body, who understands, even better, understands the head, right? How the head works.
Yes.
If you come to me and I go, okay, Yusuf, 100 push-ups, 3,000 squats, you're probably never going to come back to me again. So the key is getting in.
And that's very, very powerful, because I think I've had those experiences where
Yeah.
you can go to the gym, you can get a trainer that comes in and it just pushes you, doesn't understand you, and it breaks you.
Yeah.
Then you don't want to come back again. Yeah.
And your body doesn't want to come back.
Yeah,
More than the
yeah.
mind, the body's actually broken. Exercise is about gradual improvements. Everybody's baseline fitness is different. So to not be tested, even within the gym, is not a good start. I need to know where your baseline is. I can't have a cookie cutter kind of approach to people coming into me. And I need to know I'm working with Yusuf. He's got a back problem. He's a soccer player with a knee injury. How do we start with him specifically? So gradual progress is how I would go about.
And then you customize your program toward dealing with those, whatever disability I may have at the time, right?
Correct.
So then you work around that. I mean, for example, if I've got a knee problem, then you work around muscles, I guess, around the knee,
Yeah,
right?
so then as a biokineticist, I mean, other than just, I won't stay away from it, we'd look at rehabbing it to actually strengthen it and stop it from happening again. Yeah.
So you said this aspect of the mind is so important, and maybe just share with us a little bit about, how does that, or how important is that in this whole body transformation, this vitality transformation?
So very important. The psychology of getting you to come back, dealing with individuals. I think if you look at coaches of teams, the greatest coaches know how to work with individuals within their team and they get them to be a team. That approach of kind of come in, do this military style is only going to work on a small percentage of people. I've worked with a lot of children, and I think you probably see it most there more than you see it in adults, how people respond differently, just in the way you talk to them when you're coaching, how you give them feedback, positive reinforcement. It's so important. What happens then in your head, other than having that positive reinforcement and seeing the changes on your health and body? I've seen people become confident who've never been confident. And it's not an arrogance, it's just the confidence in how they're feeling and how they're moving.
They say your outer is a reflection of your inner, right? So what I'm seeing is actually a reflection of the work that you put in from the mind, the body, the spirit, right? And then when these three are in sync, is actually where your self-esteem comes out, and then you're reflecting this in results as well, in the physical. You end up being more successful at work, and you're able to deal with maybe challenges in a better way, even some of the mental health issues. Maybe, look, because that's also become a prevalent issue, this whole mental health and how your vitality can help with that. But there's also this I think this bombardment in the world today, especially when you go onto social media, and we can't stay away from it. I mean, it's just there. Our phones have become an extension of us now. So everything about it is bombarding a message. And if you look at that message, they're showing guys with beautiful bodies and ladies with beautiful, and everyone is like wanting to get this in an instant.
Correct.
I also have come to learn that your genetics may be different from somebody else's. So your perfection of a body is different, or my perfection will be different from yours. It's genetically different to me, right? So I can't, when I look at that picture and I say I'm aspiring toward that, it's not necessarily that, because that person's genetics are different. Would it be correct in saying that?
Genetics do play a part.
Mm.
I think when we talk about social media,
Mm.
it's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's the selling, or you're talking about instant gratification.
Yes.
6 weeks to a six pack.
Yes. That type of stuff.
You know, but the guy's been working for 10 years.
Yeah.
He didn't get his six pack in 6 weeks.
Yes.
But it's about the sell.
Mm.
So I think if we just go into understanding the basics of exercise and health, it's a lifelong journey.
Mm.
And it's consistency.
Mm.
Consistency in the way you move, and consistency in what you put into your body.
Mm.
When we say genetics, it depends what you're talking about, right? Are you talking about performance as an athlete? There's a lot. We can all perform as an athlete to our highest level.
Mm.
If you're talking about aesthetics,
Mm.
that is a completely different game. There's so much that goes into that. So much diet
Mm.
that actually is what can change what happens to your body.
Look, I think a good example for that, right, is that you take a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, let's take a sports example. I mean, he is a body specimen that's unique. And then, yes, he performs at the highest level. And then you look at a guy like Messi compared to him.
Yeah.
They two, I mean, there's still that argument about who's the better footballer, right? I mean, that will forever be a discussion. I have my views, but I'll leave that to just my views for now. But Messi, from a pure genetic perspective, is not really a specimen that one would say you would aesthetically want to aspire to it. But maybe a guy like Cristiano, you would. But yet, he's just as brilliant, right? So, I mean, that maybe is an example that comes to my head.
So that's again from a performance point of view, right? And if you look at Messi, Messi's had issues with his health as a kid. But we look at both of them. Both of them are an example of consistency. And not only consistency of doing the correct thing, because that's the other thing. You do the incorrect thing over 10 years, you're never going to get the results you want. They've been with the best coaches for both body and mind to push them to the level that they were. I mean, if you look at them just size-wise, they're different animals.
Yes.
But they are at the best sporting, both of them are at the best sporting performance of their abilities for their body.
Yeah, so you were talking a little bit about this. I think I interrupted you a bit when you're talking about that instant gratification and the dangers of it. You know, this thing of the 6 weeks to a six pack and that type of thing. And then, you know, I think the elephant in the room here is also that a lot of youngsters watching. I think then there's these advent of all these drugs that enhance you and speed up your progress, which can be counterproductive and sometimes to a point of being very dangerous.
Correct.
Maybe just share with us a little bit about what are the ills of that, or is there a place for it as well?
Okay, so the first thing on instant gratification is it's not a short journey, like I said. So the big problem first that happens to you is you fall off the wagon. So you're trying to get your goals, you're not going to ever get there because you're not seeing that you've lost 10 kilograms in 6 weeks. To go into the dangers of those things, they are dangerous. You talk about your fat burners that have stimulants in them. You look at your anabolic steroids.
Even fat burners that have stimulants. Yeah,
absolutely.
Those are just off-the-shelf stuff that you can get from the discounts.
You get off the shelf, below the shelf. They're all there. If we look at the science says the improvement that those fat burners can give you is probably 3%. Weighed up versus the problems that you can have with them, it far outweighs it. Steroids is the same thing. It's a maximum of 5%. As an elite athlete, 5% is obviously massive. But for the average human being to get a 5% gain on what you do, at the danger of it, it's not worth it.
The message that comes out clearly is that you got to put in the graft, and it's a long road, but a consistent road, like everything in life. You want to see success, and it's at that point, I think, when you're about to give up, when you say, I've been putting all that work, and that tummy of mine is still not going down, and then you push further, and then I guess the time comes where you then start seeing the results. But it takes consistency and discipline. And those are principles that we've been taught, more so as Muslims, from our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him,
Sallallahu
who has taught us these principles, right, of discipline and just good, healthy regiment. And when he was a specimen of as himself, that hadith is there that as a beautiful specimen in terms of a body, and this because of again the outer reflecting the inner. So we've come to the end of the segment. In this last segment, I want to explore further, Samir, as to where you're going to with your journey. I mean, you've done so well at premier gyms in Johannesburg, but where to on the Samir Salie journey moving forward? Let's explore that in the last segment after the break. Welcome back to Inspirate Business, the show that's here to inspire you, to empower you, and to enlighten you. And we've been inspired, definitely been inspired in the last 3 segments by none other than Samir Salie, who is a specialist in the sports performance side of things as a sports performance coach. His passion growing up, being reared by his parents who were sports crazy athletes themselves. He's got sons now that he's now rearing, so it goes from generation to generation. But he's achieved his 10,000 hours, and that's why we've chosen only those that are playing at their highest potential on this red hot couch. And I've just been intrigued by learning so much about this whole space, weight training or cardiovascular, how much of weight training, this whole world of instant gratification. I know you go to the gym and then you train, and then the tummy still stays the way it is, and then you go up and down, and then you look at others that coming in there, and the guys are just transforming, and then it like maybe deflates you. This is the life of training, and I think the message that comes out very clearly is that it's about hard graft, it's about discipline, it's about consistency. And I think also I would like to add my own or my own input to it, is that stay in your lane. You know what I mean? It's not about you in a race against yourself.
100%.
The others, whoever their journeys are, is their journey.
Yeah.
You do what you do and bring out the best that Allah has given you in terms of your body transformation, your mind transformation, your soul transformation.
And when you talk about that lane, our lane is impacted by what's going on in our life. So how do you can't compete with someone who's not having the same issues that you're going through.
Brilliant point. That's so brilliant. We all are given our own set of challenges, right? And I think this is something that I've learned over going through my own personal challenges over the last 2 years or so, is that when you think about it, and I think again there's a misnomer that's been put into our minds, is that the world, and especially having learned myself around this whole world of abundance and living an abundant life, is that, and especially the new schools of thought around personal development, is that everything is blissful. I think it's a misnomer. I think if you take the example of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, I mean, his life was the most challenging life. So I think traversing this earth is meant to be a struggle. However, we can choose to turn that struggle into bliss. But it's not that it's all blissful. And you look at people that have a blissful state, or you compare and then it deflates you. The Prophet ﷺ was able to turn that major struggles, losses of family, losses of wife, and so on, and all being banished. And he turned that into bliss eventually, where he created the Medina model and became the superpower. So it's about that, right? Yes. And that's your struggle every day. We all have that own struggles that we need to go through. Now, in terms of that, and those that may be going through some struggle, whatever, some messages to them, as well as I also want to get into, your journey. You've also gone through your own transformation and so on, and where to for, the Samir Salie performance coach.
Okay, so for those out there struggling, find a partner if you can. Your mother, your sister, your brother. Start exercising with them. I think having someone that's accountable or being accountable to makes it a bit easier, because there are days you need to be lifted, to be pulled. On that journey, every day doesn't have to be crazy. You don't have to go break yourself in the gym. Just pitching up, walking for 10 minutes is good enough. I look at myself, and for someone who's a professional in this industry, who is got the pictures up that says train every day and it's all good for you and it's the best thing that you can do when your head's in a bad space. It doesn't always work like that. My exercise journey looks like my life journey, where there's been long periods of great up and excellence, and there've been some troughs where it's been low, and the exercise looks like life looks, and that's okay. It's like you said, then come out of that, find that bliss again and do it again.
That's so powerful again. I mean, you said it mirrors life.
Yeah.
Right. So again, we've been sold the story of perfection. Every day it's on that perfection, and that's not how life works. At times when you sometimes have to listen to your body as well, and maybe your body just needs to come in and, like you say, just walk or just give it some love in another way. Go and do a massage or whatever. Right. There's other ways of also nurturing your body. There's rest and performance, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that is very, very, very powerful. But I think the point is, go out and do it every day, as much as you can.
And it doesn't have to be hard, because sometimes life feels like everything's hard, and exercise then feels hard. Exercise doesn't have to be hard. Go do something that you enjoy.
If you enjoy swimming, go and do swimming. Yeah.
If you enjoy doing a few movements of yoga and it makes you feel better, do it.
Yes. I mean, a lot of guys are doing even horse riding, because that is an exercise in itself. I mean, you think even like these are sunnahs, archery. I mean, that in itself, it's a performance. You get in to train, you get in focused around stuff. It's exercise in itself. You're going out.
Even playing with your kids.
Yes.
I mean, from a toddler to a 22-year-old. Go throw a ball with them. Go hit a ball with them. Go kick a ball.
Yes.
That counts as exercise. It doesn't have to go onto your watch, and it doesn't have to go to your insurance broker.
Yes.
Go just play. Play is exercise.
That's a very good point as well. I think I've also learned that this has also become a counterintuitive as well. Because you become so fixated on it that you actually start losing the beauty of what you want to try and do. So I think the point is, go and enjoy whatever you enjoy doing, go and do it. And I think with this whole, again, this advent of technology, and we sit watching TV and then you're on phones, whatever, you need to go out and play. That's it, go and play. Right? Even if you go with your kids and go to the park and go and swing them around, those things have been lost now in a lot of ways, right?
And you look at the benefit of play, right? Play makes you happy. Play with your friends, play with your kids. It's got to put you in a happy space.
I think that's one of the advents, or one of the reasons why this paddle has become such a success, because it's taking people together and to go and play and just go and enjoy yourself. But okay, so we've really explored the topic in an extensive way. But for you on a personal level, Samir, I mean, I know you have seen your meteoric rise, having come, like you said, to Melrose Arch. You're now at, I think, the Move Gym at Melrose Arch, which is a different dynamic, but a nice dynamic as well, a different caliber of people. What has it been like for you? I mean, I think COVID also created a bit of an issue in terms of the effects of gyms and so on when it closed. But how are you finding that, and where to for you? What are your visions and programs that you're offering? Yeah.
So COVID's definitely been a game changer for the industry. I look at kind of what's happening in the world and South Africa. Take COVID out of it, people are struggling.
It's true.
And that's just financially. There's a mental aspect of it.
Yes.
And I don't think some people haven't rebounded from the mental aspect, but there's the financial aspect.
Yes.
So having been at Melrose Arch, which is seen as a premier space, it was easily the people that could afford that were training. So the way I've looked at it now is I'm going, how do I keep people exercising and change that model? So I've teamed up with Zahra's side, and we're going to do an online program which makes it so much more affordable for people to do. And
Zahra is, of course, the famous Uncle Salie said.
That's correct.
The karate expert, right? Yes. He is his daughter.
Correct. And what I found is teaming up with one a female and someone who does something slightly different to me, feeds into then working with more people and keeping it fun. You know, because you may not like my personality all the time, or you may not like what I do all the time. I've now got the female energy within my team. So we're offering an online program where we're going to be working 3 times a week. And we're actually running a free program for the next week, where we combine doing, and you asked me about it, strength, the cardio, and the aspect of mind, where she adds yoga and restorative yoga into what we do to keep a balance on your exercise journey.
Oh, wow. So and I know Zahra as well, and I know she's also gone through quite a journey herself on the mind, body, spirit side of things. I mean, we shared a life coach together, so I know her from that world. And I know she's an amazing specimen in terms of just an athlete as well, you know, much like yourself. So that would be really exciting, quite a combination. And I know that online has become very powerful as well, because you can offer the same programs that you're doing physically, come to the gym in the space of your home. Also, it's comfortable for ladies as well, not wanting to, you know, intermingle, you know, amongst the sexes. That's also, you have that privacy as well.
Absolutely.
Alhamdulillah. So if somebody wants to, we'll have the details at the bottom for yourselves. But what is the program called, and how can somebody, is there a website, or if somebody wants to start up immediately?
So you want to start up immediately, we just calling it training with the masters now.
Right.
You talk about your 10,000 hours. We've definitely put in our 10,000 hours.
Yes, good on you.
You can follow us on Instagram.
So you go training with the masters.
So on Instagram, right now it's Samir Salie Sports Performance.
Okay.
And Zahra_Syed_movement.
Okay.
And you'll find all the details on there. There's a link for the Zoom, so you can actually try and train with us and enjoy it.
All right, and it's starting from as of Monday, the whatever the date is. Yeah. All right. Okay. Which is now in the first week of March.
And we want to do it 1 week at a time, because we know Ramadan's coming up, and that's a big market for us.
Yes.
So we want to go 1 week, and once Ramadan is done, we want to be able to take you on for a month. When Ramadan's happening, we'll also look at kind of changing our times and seeing to keep people active.
That's a very good point as well, because I think a lot of people feel that now comes Ramadan, and then again a misnomer. You think you're going to lose weight in Ramadan because of fasting. Most people actually end up gaining because you eat too much and then you're not active. So it's also good to, at the liberty of your home and the luxury of your home, is to do a training, you know, maybe even after Tarawih, you know, at those times, or, you know, because we have longer nights now with Ramadan. So that's exciting, very, very exciting. We've come to the end of the show. It's an absolute honor to have had you, Samir. Thank you for sharing your insights. I hope you, as a viewer, have enjoyed it as much as I have. I've learned a lot more about this whole world of fitness, of body, and it's again an amana from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we need to look after, and it allows you to then express yourself to your highest potential for as long as possible. I think the one thing that I've learned is that in the traditional philosophies, in our traditions as well as Muslims, there is no concept as retirement. You work and you fulfill your potential right to your last breath. And Allah has given us this gift, and it's incumbent upon us to be able to look after it and express it. Some just a few last words from your side.
Stay consistent in your exercise. If you need any help, contact us. We are here to help. And thank you for having me.
Great. On that high note, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.